Good morning, everybody, and welcome to day number 33 of the Barnhouse renovation. It's been 4 days since I last posted, and a lot has definitely happened in 4 days. I want to take a moment to talk about electrical because that's what's pretty much, possessed these last 4 days here. Now, I, as a homeowner, you as a homeowner, any homeowner out there is allowed to do a certain limited amount of electrical work on your house, on your property. When you have a big project, particularly when anything is tying into the main electrical panel, when anything is being run in the walls, anything that extends to more than putting in a lighting fixture, a light switch, an outlet, well, then it's time to hire the professionals. And I am not a professional electrician, and I do not appreciate all the work that they go through in order to get a job like this up and running, because it is a lot of work. And so there were many components to putting the electrical wiring into this art space. We decided to go with a conduit style here, and it matches the rest of the barn because that's what's in there. So when they're installing a conduit style, it's going to happen in a number of different parts. The first part is they're going to put the conduit in. And then generally that conduit is going to get inspected, and that's all dependent upon your local town ordinances. Sometimes it does, sometimes it isn't. It doesn't. Excuse me. And then after that happens, then they're going to pull the wire through, and all the wire goes through. It has to go through in a particular order because when you have switches, and we do have some 3-way, 4-way switches in this space, well, there's a lot of figuring that has to happen. There's a lot of labeling that has to occur because there's a lot of wire in those conduits that are controlling all the different components of this space, of whatever space it's going into. And that wire has to then be inspected. Now, again, this is all according to your local ordinances, but generally has to be inspected before they go through and they put in all the outlets, all the switches. And then they end up tying that into the main panel so that everything can get turned on and off. So needless to say, it is a multifaceted project, and it's a project that requires a bit of time. And watching all of this going in and seeing firsthand how everything happens and occurs, there's a lot of steps to it. And so there's a lot of outlets, there's a lot of switches in this location, and getting it all right so that when you flip on the switch and everything goes to power on, it works. So we're at the It Works phase here, and let's go through the barn and see where we have gotten to. Everything is in, everything is powered up. So we have all of our electrical in, we've got all of our switches in. We've got a switch here for the first floor, which controls some simple downlights. Let's talk about the lighting for a moment. We've got these little ceramic bulbs. These are LEDs at the moment. They've got a pull chain on them, which is kind of interesting because it's a pull chain and a switch. But we did that for a very specific reason, because running through that same switch are these utility lights that we have here. And I've showed you these lights, and these are also on a pull chain. So we've got our very low level lighting. These are only 40-watt LED light bulbs. And then on top of that, well, we've got a work light. And when that comes on, boy, do you get a lot of light. And you're not necessarily going to need all that light all the time. So these are switched also. It's all in the same circuit. It's all LED, so it's not really drawing that much. But if I wanted to change from the low level lighting because we're doing a project that's working and we need a lot of detail, well, we can just click those on and off, and then we still have our switch control over here where we can turn it on, turn it off. But if we don't have anything and we're just working and we just want the low level lighting here because we're doing some computer work and we have the glow of the screens and something a little bit easier on the lines, well, then we can flick those on and off. And we're going to have another one of those utility lights over here, and the conduit is working great in this point. We've got a very lightweight fixture here that normally gets chained or screwed into the ceiling. In this case, it's just hanging from the conduit as it goes down, and it plugs in. This is just a plug in light, and it's an LED, so it's very high efficiency. It's got a standard plug, and it just plugs into these ceramic lamp bases that we have, and well, it's very simple, it's very easy. So that's just one part of the whole thing. The other thing was, well, we got all of our power in, and we've got two different sides to this power. We've got a low power box, in this case is a quad box. We've got 4 outlets in it, and then we've got a high one. And the reason we decided to go low and high is because we're working with different types of tables that are going to be here. So we are going to have 2 portable tables, and they're going to move around and be able to be configuring to whatever we need the space to be. So if we're working on top of the table, we don't want the cords running up and around or behind, don't want to be bothered with that. Well, we've got a very quick and handy convenience outlet there on the top. Another one underneath the windows, and then we've got our computer area that's going to be over here in a big L-shaped desk. And so that's got our quad box up here plugging in the monitor and things like that. We've got another outlet underneath, and then that can plug in the computer or the CPU for the tower style. And then we have an Ethernet cable. So we've got gigabit Ethernet that's run throughout the entire space because this is a workspace. So that's pretty fast. Network, we're not dependent upon Wi-Fi. We're not worried about, well, all of the issues you would have with different types of routers or problems that they haven't upgraded their security or things of that nature. Over here, we've added in a USB port up here on the upper one, which is going to be convenient, so you don't have to have all those ugly wall warts on there. And then that's it. And you can see the white on white really kind of starting to come into play here. Now we've talked about it being a canvas. And it most certainly is a canvas. And so Liz has gotten in here already, and I'm just going to show you a little something because I saw this morning when I turned it on. So this is what we're talking about with a white blank canvas. It is a lot of what Liz she does very artistic, very creative things. And we're going to start to see all of that coming into play over this wall. And if it gets to be too much, if we're saying, oh, it's a bit too cartoony, or the purpose of the room changes, well, then we just paint over it. And that's really where we're going to truly start to understand the brilliance of this space, is it's nothing that we're attached to or stuck to. It's going to be easily changed and easily switched from one purpose to the other. All right, so day behind, maybe a day behind, we're not entirely sure. We have started working on the floor, and the biggest part of the floor was getting all of the dust and grit and everything that's fallen into these cracks over the 100 years that they have been in place, and that job fell to Aiden. And here's a quick picture. He's on vacation this week. So here's a quick picture of him working in here and pulling all that out. And it was a really kind of, well, task-intensive, laborious job, but he did a great, certainly did a great job doing it. And now that this is done, we're going to get one more clean, and then we're going to fill all of those cracks because now we're working on the floor. And we've got some great light to do that in. So working on the floor today, so we should have this all filled and sealed, and then that'll take a day to dry, and then we'll put the paint down, so another day for the paint to be down, and then this walls and flooring here are finished. And so once the walls and floors are finished in here, then it's all the trim boards and the molding, the sill boards that are going in, and then our countertop. So we're definitely very close to being able to turn this over to Liz so she can get started with her side of it, which is really how she's moving in here and she's going to start working. And then she's going to start decorating, as you saw over there. So day number 33, a lot going on. Oh, you know, we did have a question about the conduit, which I did want to answer. The conduit does have a ground. There's also a separate ground wire that's inside, and that goes and plugs into all of the devices which have grounds on them. And so my question about whether or not the paint affected the ground, well, it would only affect the ground if it was painted before it went in. If it was painted before it went in, then you would have to sand the ends so that you would have metal touching metal. But since this was all installed, unfinished, all those connections were made here, so there's no paint on the inside of this because the paint couldn't get in there and the nuts are all wung down. So we have a solid ground going throughout, and then there's a whole separate ground in there. So we are very grounded here at Colored Spots Creative in the farmhouse. just in case you were worried or you were wondering. That's it for today. We're going to get started on the floor, as I said, and we'll come back with some more shots of that once that's all said and done, and you'll continue to see the process as we're finishing up here, and I would definitely call this the home stretch. So, thanks for checking in. Please leave a like. Please subscribe. That really goes a long way. It goes a long way because, well, I put these videos up and I take time out of the day in order to put these videos up because there's a lot of people interested. And I think you get inspired, you get some ideas, maybe you get motivated for your own projects. But I'm not making much on that. I do get a little bit from YouTube. Anybody who has a monetized channel does. And when I say a little bit, I mean a very little bit. But it's enough for me to kind of give back because a lot of the information I have gotten over the years has been from YouTube. It's been from online. And I've really worked to expand my knowledge base. And so I want to give that back. But if things really get busy and I'm out there and I'm doing things and I don't have time to post, don't get mad at me. I'm doing the best I can, folks, and I will get back to you as soon as I can with new and exciting projects. And as always, I'm really grateful for everybody who's sticking around and who's watching these. And well, it just goes a long way to motivating me, because as I'm trying to motivate you, well, you motivate me, and I think it's a very codependent relationship. So thanks for checking in. As I said, have any questions, ask, leave a like, leave a comment, and we'll see you all next time.